Welcome to the episode 11 Reality Podcast. I am your host, Ricky Valero. On today's episode, I am going to dive headfirst into season 6 of The Circle. There's going to be 13 total episodes of The Circle season 6, and they will be dropped in a weekly format like the other reality shows over on Netflix on Wednesday, April 17th. Episodes 1 through 4 will drop. And then, of course, every Wednesday after that, April 24th, episodes 5 through 8. And then, of course, the week after that, May 1st, episodes 9 through 12. And then the final episode declaring the winner of the show will drop on Wednesday, May the 8th. If this is your first time ever watching The Circle, or if you're looking to get into The Circle, you don't really have to watch the past seasons to really dive in. So if you want to jump in at season 6, jump in at season 6. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't really matter either way. 13 hour-long episodes, new city, new twist, same game. Catfish, connections, and chaos awaits as new influencers enter the chat to compete for a huge cash prize. This season features one of the first ever reality TV shows to show this. An AI competitor is going to play within The Circle. I have some definite opinion on it. It's definitely interesting to see them bring this dynamic to the table. I do think the use throughout the first 4 episodes has been interesting to watch, but we have a cast of characters that are just wild and crazy. And let's just go ahead and talk about the characters before we dive into the episode. Kyle, he has a dog. He isn't going to tell anyone that he's a basketball player, but he's a basketball trainer. Also, he is married, but going in as single. I would love to hear your thoughts on this. Would your significant other be okay with you jumping onto a reality series and going in as single instead of married? All right, then we have Lauren, who is from Philly. She's a gamer slash cosplayer. She's going to enter as herself and be herself, and she's recently single. Miles, nicknamed Young Papi Fuego. It just the vibe from this guy he says that you either love or hate him. I feel like there's gonna a lot of people that just don't like him, but his occupation is an AI engineer. One of his comments was, looks like a duck boy and knows it, whatever that means. Maybe I'm just getting old. We have Brandon, is a nursing assistant. He is going in as a catfish. He's going to portray Olivia, a friend of his. And he said he's going to be hot, which is something that he hasn't been before. Very funny introduction to him. We kind of get a vibe check early on within the show, and then of course from here we've got a few more people in the Circle. We have Cassie from Kentucky, married, high school sweetheart, but caught him cheating by catfishing him. She's engaged, mother of 2, a bonus mom of 3. All of her kids are young. I, for one, am sure she was excited to escape 5 kids in the household. I feel empathy for her significant other at the same time because all these kids are little. Steffi, definitely another interesting character to get to know. She is a psychic. Herbert is her emotional support skeleton. Yes, you heard me right. Emotional support skeleton. Full life-size emotional support skeleton. She's going in as herself. And she said that her dead aunt is going to help her throughout the way. Yeah. Caress, motivational speaker from Dallas. She's going to play as her younger brother, Paul. So we have another catfish. But yeah, I just definitely quite an interesting group of people. The first kind of game that they have is just asking some questions and getting a vibe for where these people are at and their heads are at. It said, would you unfriend someone if would you unfriend someone who is canceled? Everybody here said no, except for Miles, which is definitely interesting. Of course, that in return brought a lot of conversation since he was the only person that did say yes. And then the next question would be, would you date someone who is an OnlyFans? Yes or no? Kyle and Paul, aka Caress, were the only ones that said no. Let's see here. If your friend confessed to cheating, would you keep it a secret? Miles was the only one that said no. Miles, like right out the gate, was just pissing everybody off, which was hilarious. And then the last one was, would you ever break up with someone via text message? And then, of course, Miles was struggling again. Miles and Paul both said yes. After the question round, Paul and Miles are about to have so many questions that need to be answered. They're both on the wrong side of multiple things. Early on, we get a kind of a vibe back and forth, everybody kind of getting to know each other. I'm not going to dive too much into the hardcore recap, but right at the gate, day one, there was an alert that said, hey, the players must rate each other 1 through 6. The top 2 influencers, the top 2 will be the influencers. Everyone who chatted with each other put them, who chatted with each other basically put themselves first place. Paul, aka Caress, thinks that Lauren is a catfish. There's a circle party. Everyone's dancing to Hot in Here by Nelly. Mid party, we get it. The results are in. All right. Coming in at 7th place was Paul. Caress was not very happy with this rough outing right away. Miles and Cassie were kind of tied for that 5th spot. Kyle slid into 4th, Steffi in 3rd, and our first 2 influencers were Lauren and Olivia, aka Brandon. Now, there was another alert that was announced that the influencers had the difficult decision to make, but not blocking a player from the circle. Instead, the influencers they will influence the game by picking 2 new players to join the circle. Quori-Taylor and Max are the 2 new members of the group that ended episode 1. And then, of course, this is where we're introduced to Max, who, of course, is the AI chat box that will be throughout the season. And then as we dive into episode 2, 2 of the new players have entered the circle. Everyone struggled with Quori-Taylor's name, and Max have entered the chat as well. QT is going in herself as a super fan. She's a former NBA dancer. QT is her nickname. Max, our AI chatbot, has arrived. With this thing, he has studied the past players and will use the player name Max, a veterinarian. Everything it says will be fully through AI and not through the producers at all. I definitely found that interesting, and I liked that. That they weren't allowed to kind of sway certain things. It will be interesting to see it play out. Who will be able to pinpoint Max being the AI? What if like the AI wins the game? Like, how crazy would that be throughout this entire show? Like, really though, like that's insane to me. Lauren says she's going to be good friends with Max, followed by Kyle and Miles saying that they love her. Let's see. We got Max is joining the chat. Miles is all over QT. Lauren slides into Max DM. The one thing I don't like about Max, and we see this as the recurring thing through every episode, is obviously I get it, like spitting out the statistics every single time something happens. It just kind of got redundant, a little bit of annoying. Just from that side of things. I know that some of these characters, the cast of characters and the people kind of have that same vibe. They're just kind of annoying, maybe eccentric characters, but at the same time, it was just kind of, all right, just say what you're going to say. Let's move on with ourselves. You know what I mean? Obviously, then Olivia slides into QT's DMs to kind of tell her that she picked her. The duo had brought in Cassie to have the conversation. Max said he is anti-bro code, which I do give credit for the AI for that, but he plays along with Kyle, Paul, and Miles, so they have Alliance of the Brothers, the bro code there. Next up, we have a rap battle amongst the crew. The crew gets gear and they will have to write a rap, and it'll have to be about someone in a circle and only have 15 minutes to do so. Lauren rapped first. She rapped about Max. Kyle wasn't very happy because Kyle thought that Lauren and Lauren and him were like going, bonding. And then Max, our AI, rapped about Lauren. Steffi, our psychic here, crossed a line that knocked one out of the ballpark. Okay, she rapped and she got rapped about Paul, called out Paul for potentially being a catfish. And it was by far, for these 2 episodes, the best part of the episode so far, because finally we are finally stepping up the game and starting to play the game. Like at the end of the day, like we're watching these individuals, but I want to see some gameplay. I want to see some strategy. I want to see that kind of unfold in front of my eyes. So that really sent, ruffling feathers across the board. Paul is up. He rapped about Kyle. QT's up. Rapped about Miles. Miles is up. Rapped about QT. Of course, these two flirt with each other. Paul and Kyle are mucking it up. Not happy with some of the way things happened in the rap battle. So these two are forming their own formation of the bro code. And then, of course, we get the final alert before the end of the episode that says not everyone in the circle is the person they say they are. And not everyone in the circle is human. They announce one of the players is an AI. And the entire cast and crew freak out. Everyone starts to guess who they think the AI person is. None of them projected it would be Max. Hopping into episode 3. Obviously, everyone's on the rebound about the AI catfish amongst the crew. Paul Caress, aka Caress, thinks that it's Steffi. Lauren thinks it's Paul. Max slides into Lauren's DMs. Max said that Paul's rap was AI level good, but and landed exactly where Lauren thought. And then now Max also brought up Steffi. Paul and Kyle kind of chatted up a little bit. Kyle says Steffi might be the AI to throw the scent off her. Kyle tries to get Paul into a trap, figuring out if Paul is AI. And then, of course, Paul fails miserably. Miles slid into QT's DMs. These two are quite smitten by each other. Alert! The alert pops up. And the circle says they can prove they are human and later vote who the least human, followed by the player they think that is most human. The most human person that wins must block the player they believe is the least human. The first question is a humor test. Steffi was first. She said she had a knock-knock joke, and most thought that that would be the perfect thing that an AI bot would do. I mean, like, knock-knock jokes have been out since, like, the 90s, maybe, 80s. I don't even know. Max made a funny joke about his dating life, and everyone ate it up. I mean, the probability, the factors, and all that stuff that go into the AI, it does show the smarts of AI. Kind of terrifying in some ways, but definitely interesting there. Olivia, aka Brandon, finally says Max might be the AI. First person to finally say that. Can we get a cookie for them? Paul, aka Caress, calls out Steffi in the middle of the game after Steffi came for Paul yesterday. Again, ruffling the feathers, getting the cast up in in that whole just bottled up, going crazy. Steffi is, after this whole competition was over, Stephanie was doing this weird egg cleanse. I can't wait for people to talk about Steffi. Definitely an interesting character. I don't think it's anything bad, just unique, different, fun, weird vibe. But yeah, it's definitely something. Honestly, it's no surprise that a lot of people think that, Steffi might be AI. Kyle slides into Miles' DM to talk about the AI. These two talk about having each other's back. Steffi and Cassie are both on their radars. We get an alert. The players must decide who's the most human, ranked 1st to 8th from human to most human. The person most human will block the person they think is least human, meaning someone is leaving the circle. The player rated most human is, of course, a cliffhanger. Obviously, we jump into episode 4. The person we pick up right where we left off, ranking 1st to 8th. The person that was the person rated most human will block the person they think is the least human, meaning someone is leaving the circle. Miles was voted the most human. This kind of surprised me, but it didn't, because I feel like the way Miles acts, you don't really get the vibe of an AI. So that didn't really surprise me at the same time. Now, I will say this. What happens next is kind of crazy. Everyone is freaking out right now. Alert. The group has one more shot to prove they aren't a bot. They will upload a photo where they feel the most alive. So this was funny, right? QT threw a little shade, saying hashtag abs by AI, talking about Kyle's photo. Kyle had a photo that was off in the distance. You could see him, but you couldn't see him, if you know what I mean. The photo was so far back. After that was kind of funny. The first time that really we saw some shade kind of thrown Kyle's way. He wasn't sure how to handle that at all. Miles threw some shade at Max for his lack of smile in his picture. Stephanie railroaded Paul after sharing what looked like a quote-unquote stock photo. And then Paul threw it back at her. Man, these two, Paul and Steffi, back and forth throughout this entire thing. Alert! Miles was rated the most human. Later, we'll eliminate whoever the least human is, but each person has a chance to tell him who they think it is before he votes. This was where things get interesting because we have the names that we thought would be interested, and then we had a curveball towards the end here. But Lauren says Paul, Paul says Steffi, Max says Steffi, Cassie says Steffi, Kyle says Steffi, QT says Steffi, but Steffi and Olivia vote for Kyle. Now, of course, what happens is whenever you get to block somebody on the show, you get that person that goes to block them gets to visit their dorm or little apartment that they're living in to tell them that they're kicked off the show. That to me is wild. This season is going to be crazy. I would love to hear your thoughts on the first 4 episodes of The Circle. Reminder, next Wednesday, April 24th, episodes 5 through 8 will drop on Netflix. Cannot wait to talk to you guys about the show. Thank you guys so much for listening to another episode of Love and Reality Podcast. Also, remember, podcast programming notes will also be dropping another episode of the Love and Reality Podcast this week, talking about episodes 5. Episodes 5? Yeah, episodes 5 of The Valley and Vanderpump Villa. Thank you guys so much. Talk to you guys next week.